Behind the Dish is sponsored by DBAT. Check out dbat.net for baseball and softball products, franchise information, and to find a location near you. And now your host, John Piper.
I met my next guest 3 ABCAs ago in Indianapolis on a Sunday morning as the convention was wrapping up, and immediately had a connection with his enthusiasm he has for the game. He's a people person, his desire to make all the people around him better. Welcome, Coach Jeremy Sheetinger, to Behind the Dish.
Pipes, thanks for having me on, my man. Fired up to sit here with you.
Remember that? I'm a lifelong learner as well.
Yep.
And the exhibit hall shuts down on a Saturday, just like it will today.
Yep.
And I had an opportunity to come down and go to some coaches' sessions on Sunday morning. And so thankful I did, because I met you.
Yep.
You've been on before. You were so gracious to come on early on when I started this 3 seasons ago. And we had a lot of fun with it. We did it remotely, so it's always good. And I know you do some of your podcasts remotely too, but it's always good to connect in person, especially in a live environment like the ABCA.
It's a totally different dynamic when you can look eye to eye. I mean, that's how we all communicate. You can feel body language. You can feel presence. It's a totally different space. And it's like, in the course of interviewing, you try to get on a comfort level where it's as good as it can get remotely. But if you can trade that in, I'd do it 10 times over to be able to sit in front of somebody.
Yeah, especially that 10 or 15 minutes, you get a chance to visit with the guest or the coach.
That's right.
Prior, a little pre-show discussion to just confirm some things. So, man, it's so awesome to see. And I know, after spending 4 years, and we'll talk about that more here in a minute, your role at the ABCA, you had trouble even getting to the booth here because everybody you run into knows Coach Sheets with all the stuff you've done, not only at ABCA, but you're doing with your media and your podcast as well.
Sure, yeah. It's a blessing and a curse. It's all my good buddies I used to come here with, and we could always eat lunch together and eat dinner together. And over time, you do some cool things. You meet more people. Your network grows, and it's a blessing, man. I'm honored. Even the guy I've never met before, Pipes, don't know his face, don't know him from Adam, but he feels compelled to talk about the things that we did at the association that's challenged him to grow and get better. And it's always it really is humbling, flattering. It's all those words that mean a lot to me.
Well, you attend the 76th annual ABCA. Let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah.
76 years, group of coaches been coming together to meet and share knowledge. It's such a great resource. After taking the job this summer as the head coach of Georgia Gwinnett College, you attend this ABCA is literally Coach Sheets because you're back in the coaching game.
That's right. I was joking around with a couple guys. It was the first time in 5 years I had to use my barcode because usually I beat everybody here by 4 or 5 days, and we're setting up, getting things ready. And but to get back in the trenches and to check in and to try to navigate my schedule, my agenda, and do those things, I definitely will be better prepared next year. I was out of practice this year, but I'm getting better.
Well, how does it feel putting a uniform back on?
It was everything I thought it would be. So when I got out and moved to ABCA, I'm also an associate scout, special assignment guy with the Atlanta Braves. And so it's my 5th year doing that. Well, that was my way of saying, hey, I still want to put on a uniform every once in a while. So when we did camps and stuff, I was able to wear the Braves stuff. But now coming back and honestly, first practice when I got to put my practice pants on and I got to girl out there and swing a fungo with my guys, very surreal, and don't take it for granted any day.
Well, you inherit a program that's starting its 8th season, but already had a tremendous amount of success.
Oh, yeah.
Last year in 2019, 48-13 with a number 4 national ranking. The expectations are high coming in.
Yeah, well, on a few fronts. So the complete scope is 7-year-old program, 3 World Series. They've averaged 47 wins a year. We've had 21 players signed professionally in 7 years, 6 off last year's team. And when you lay out that plus back-to-back World Series appearances, finished 4th last 2 years, when you lay all that out, and then, John, you start to look at the fact that I believe my athletic director is a rock star. Our athletic department, 6 sports. All 6 sports finished last season at their respective final site. All of us know why we took the job. It's exactly why I took it. This is the chance to say, hey, this program's growing so we can build stability. But can you be the guy that brings the first trophy back? I don't know if I am yet, but that's why I took the job. I want to find out. I want to compete against the best and figure it out.
after serving 4 years with the ABCA, the American Baseball Coaches Association, for those first-time viewers, were you hungry to get back in coaching, or did this opportunity just kind of present itself like a lot of great opportunities do, just kind of out of left field?
So, and we talked about this in our friendship. I honestly, for 3 years, first 3, completely committed to not coaching. So my wife's a college volleyball coach. I was obviously a college baseball coach. We found out we were pregnant with our son Cooper, and we both looked at each other and said, hey, we want to raise a family more than we want to coach a team. ABCA opportunity came along, couldn't come at a better time. It's all God's timing. And for 3 years, I literally, anybody would ask, I would say, there's no way I'm coaching again, man. I love my gig. I love what I'm doing. And Pipes, this last year, man, was one of the hardest years for me. I went to so many games and World Series and conversations, and I would watch games and go, man, I can still do this. And the itch was there. I tried to ignore it. We got down to the end of the season, and I had a couple phone calls, one of them being about Georgia Gwinnett, and the minute my heart started fluttering, I knew that was real. And so I walked towards it, scary, terrified to leave behind what we've done here at ABCA. But, again, when I look at it, and I'll go into more – when you look at 11 years, and I'm not maybe sold on the way that I went about those 11 years, the spirit in which I coached, a lot of ego-driven stuff, a lot of wins and losses, lacking in relationships. And honestly, maybe I'm trying to sell a book here, but I have a chance to rewrite my own script. And I'll be able to die one day and be at peace with that.
Well, we're always, really living out a new chapter in our own book.
Sure.
And, whether you publish it ever or not, but it's a great story. And, you've had a chance to be on campus now this past semester. Obviously you got a chance to meet. Great timing, as a transition into a head coach, right after the season's over. You meet all your players. Have you had to do any recruiting to fill out your roster for this upcoming 2020 season?
Yeah, so I got the job late, and it's just the way that hiring practices go. A state school, and the head coach before me got the head coaching job at Georgia State, another state school, and it's not like a private school where you can just flip on a dime and hire somebody. There's a whole process that goes into it. And so what started in early July didn't finish until August 1st, and we started classes the 14th. So wasn't able to get any new recruits in. But you know what? We had 35 guys on our roster, 17 returners from last year's team. And we just looked at it and said, I love this team. I love where we're at. I love my guys. We could use maybe one or two pieces that could enhance what we do or give us another option. So we're bringing 2 guys in here at break, and infielder and a pitcher. Y'all never have enough arms, and certainly want another bat for an option. But, yeah, looking at it and just trying to figure out, John, as we move forward, how will we recruit where you're building a program that on a level generally the winning teams have transfer players. So we're being cognizant we got to stay in that spirit, and there's a point I'm hoping that in 5, 6, 7 years we can start to balance that roster between high school development and not just impact junior college or transfer kids. We're working on it.
There's always moving parts inside a program.
Always.
So and you'll do a great job managing those moving parts, I'm sure.
Appreciate that.
Your athletic director, Darren Wilson, who you mentioned earlier, in the press conference, I got a chance to see that.
Yeah.
He mentioned here, I'm going to quote him, thankfully, we had one candidate that rose to the top. We came out of that room with a unanimous choice.
Yeah.
Wow. I know every head coaching job, I don't know how many, if he even shared with you how many candidates that applied, probably at least, I'm just going to guess, at least a dozen or more. So to have him say that and, to work for a guy like that has a lot of faith in Jeremy Sheetinger, that's got to be important to you as you start your stint there at Gwinnett College.
So go a level deeper, and again, it's all funny when you get the job and you get all the stories. I certainly wasn't the unanimous choice when they started the process. I think when you looked at my resume in 11 years, I don't have a conference championship. I don't have a national championship to point to. I had some success as a head coach, but didn't equate to a trophy. And then you're out for 4 years. I was the only candidate that wasn't a current coach that came down the wire. So, it took some faith.
So, hey, we're both from Kentucky. We talked about that on our first podcast. We won't from Frankfort, and I'm from Lexington. So we use a little horse analogy. You were probably at the early stages,
back of the pack.
2 weeks before the Derby,
Yeah.
You were a 50-1 shot. Is that fair to say?
1,000%. I mean, and Darren, we've talked a lot about that. Obviously, we're very close. He's a big piece of the reason why I took the job. I want to work. I want a mentor. I want a leader in my life. He's that guy. He's done a fantastic job, continues to lead us every day. And I walked into it and went, I realized that when you, and our soccer coach, women's soccer coach, Dr. G, gives me flack all the time. He's like, when you lay your resume out, it doesn't jump off and say you're the guy. So I knew that when I had my phone interview, John, I knew I needed to show up. And I absolutely crushed my phone interview. And I knew that I needed to, through that phone with all of them sitting around, go, dude, there's energy, there's passion, there's a plan, there's a process the way he wants to do this. And it made me get it on campus, and the rest is history.
That's a great point for you high school players that are looking to play at the next level. You got to present yourself in a way that gets a coach to say, you know what, that kid stands out.
Sure.
That coach stands out, and you got their attention.
Yeah.
In any marketplace, there's 360 exhibitors here. It's hard to get people's attention, so you got to do something a little unique and different, and have a good platform or a good product.
Yeah, it's pretty funny now. I didn't realize this at the time, but when I got to campus, there's a security guard, and his mantra, anytime you see him, it's a great day to be a Grizzly. I didn't know this.
He would say that as you...
Anybody for years, so that's like the joke. It's a great day to be a Grizzly. And I get on the phone call, and I'm going, how can I come out right out the chute and let them know that I'm all in already? I don't have the job yet, but I'm all in. And I literally, how's everybody doing? It's a great day to be a Grizzly. And the whole room laughs, and I'm going, well, there's more to that. It was, just like, oh my goodness, there was more to it. And then I come to find out that's a thing that they talk about all the time on campus, and that's the mantra in our athletic department. It's always a great day to be a Grizzly.
But you got that from the on-campus security?
No, I got that from. I just want to do something to.
Oh, so you had no idea?
No
that
clue.
Was
and then it all started. And I'm going,
that was like a slogan,
and how it hit home for them.
Oh, perfect.
So that's our mantra in our department. Like, you wake up every day, it's raining, it's snowing, it doesn't matter. It's always a great day to be a Grizzly.
But you know what? What I've learned and really respect from you, Sheets, is you're always yourself, and it took some courage to do that. You probably thought about, do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that?
Oh, yeah.
You probably wavered and hey, that's who I am. That's my personality. I got to be who I am if I'm going to be the coach at Gwinnett College.
So the big piece that I've figured out, and I certainly, as a younger coach, I modeled. I tried to be Augie Garrido. I tried to be John Cohen, and I was never myself. I almost talked in third person right there. I was never myself, and that was a regret I had. And so I think when you get a chance to interview, so certainly if it's a player – talking with a coach, you can't portray this image of yourself that you want to be. You need to be exactly who you are. And certainly when you walk into a job interview, dude, you can't hire me and then I show up and I don't walk the walk, I don't say the same things, we're not doing it all. You can't be that guy. You have to be who you are and know that what you're hiring is exactly what you're getting.
Well, you coached at all divisions, college baseball from 2004 to 2015.
Yeah.
And, I know you're excited to get back on the field. Some of your coaching stops, in Kentucky, Georgetown, Brescia. You spent your last couple years before you took this job at Spalding College in Louisville. How did some of those stops, and obviously at a school we're both very proud to say, I guess we're alma mater, coaching, and I was a student there, the University of Kentucky. So you worked, Division I at the University of Kentucky for several years as well. How did all those stops, Sheets, prepare you to be a better coach now here in 2020?
Oh, my goodness. I think it's a great question. I think when you go down and try to boil it, it's when you look at all those stops, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow on the main stage, you look at it and you go, that stop, it was a rough 2 years, and I got one in particular, it was a rough 2 years. But you know what? Sometimes it's not always you learn what to do. Sometimes you learn what not to do. You learn where you were at fault or where the other person was at fault. And so then I can put myself in their shoes and go, okay, when I get in that situation, I'll handle it differently. And so when you go back to it, you got a chance to learn that in 8 years that I was an assistant out of my first 11, I don't think I was ever a very good assistant coach. I wanted to be a head coach so bad. I wanted to have a voice. I wanted to be out in the forefront, and I never served my head coach. I think you look at, in regards to that, when I was a head coach, I don't think I empowered my assistants very well. And I'm hypercritical. You're your own worst critic, but I'm super hypercritical. I want to be great. I want to move in that direction. But to be great, you got to be really good for a long time. And so I want to make sure that I'm cognizant of what my assistants are going through. How can I develop them and challenge them to be great? Making sure that I empower them. I have delegated more in this job in 4 months than I ever did in 3 years as a head coach, making sure they know that I want them to have a hand in where this is going. It's not on me, and it won't be. And I think beyond that, you just look at all the different elements of experience and perspective. And I'm drawing on that going, hey, this is how we recruited at Kentucky, and this is how we got the players we wanted. It's certainly not Kentucky, but it's a Division I setup that plays NAIA baseball. So we can operate in a Division I manner, not in a traditional small school manner. So how are we going to be great at that? So you look at all those experiences, you boil them down, you just go, I'm where I'm at because that's where I'm supposed to be, but where I was exactly where I needed to be so I could be great where I'm at.
That's a great segue to my next question. You talk about, really what I'm hearing is, hey, it was about me. I wanted to be a head coach so bad. I want to do whatever I could for me to become a head coach.
My career.
And your focus wasn't necessarily always on your assistants or your players. So, but you talk openly about how now you've learned and you've been humbled, and we all are as humans. We're all imperfect. How you've been able to check the ego, start this new role. And part of that is the 3 and the 4 years you spent at ABCA just to reflect on your coaching career was really a great chapter in the book that you're still writing to prepare you. And talk to us a little bit about how ego can get in the way as a player. You played at a high level and as a coach.
Yeah, it is the enemy, as Ryan Holiday in his great book, it is the enemy. I think when you're ambitious, and I'm certainly am very extroverted, if you can't tell, I'm certainly not shy. My brother is the shy one in our family, and I got all the extrovert genes. My dad was a professional speaker, so I have zero issues getting in front of anybody and talking, and certainly with comes that is confidence. I'm very confident in who I am. I know I spill coffee on my shirt every day, but I'm a pretty sweet dude, so you want to hang out with me. Like, I'm very confident in that. So I think when you look at all those things, you approach this situation, and I didn't realize it at the time, John, but I really believe it was a God thing that he reached his hand and went, I'm going to pull you out of what you thought your career was, and I'm going to transplant you into this where you have to learn servant leadership or it's not going to work. And to be in that space, and honestly, very truthfully, it took me a year to understand that that's what the craving was. You have to serve these coaches, and you have to find that spirit and then figure out elements and platforms to do it with. And learning that, I honestly feel like was exactly the segue to get back. And I talked about writing my own script, but I know going back, I knew who I was, but I know who I am now, and the differences are glaring. It is all about my players. My players are my heroes. They are my rock stars, and I work every day to do what we can to promote them and to push them and develop them. But more than that, and probably the biggest point, is I absolutely love my players. And more than that, John, I don't just say it, I mean it. And I don't just mean it, I show it. And I hug them, I bro hug them. We don't end a team meeting without me telling I love you guys. I'm now getting players, one texted me this morning and just said, just thinking about you, Coach, can't wait to see you tomorrow at the team meeting, love you to death. And it's like to have an 18 to 22-year-old man where I was in an environment with a single father, you just don't cry. We don't show our emotion. I don't know if I ever cried in a lot of different moments, and I'm helping my guys understand that, dude, there's power in vulnerability. There's power in the ability to
it's okay to show emotion as a man.
It's okay. And so you got to keep in mind, too, we're a very diverse program, team situation. We're in greater Atlanta, so it's a mix of the inner city kid and the country kid. But I may be the only male role model in their life, so if I'm not willing as a 38-year-old man to tell them that I love them, then how are they going to grow up as a father and a husband? I'll tell you this, too. I'm so grateful that I now have 2 kids. I'm a much better coach because I have kids.
Fatherhood.
Than I ever was when I was single and didn't have
changes things.
Oh, it changes everything. It's a game changer. Yeah.
Well, Coach, for future players out there, you start your 8th season, or you don't start the 8th season, but the 8th season as a program at Georgia Gwinnett College. I know you're excited about the facilities and the investment that they made in the baseball program. Just being only 8 years young, what can you talk about for that high school player, that college transfer player that may want to consider coming and playing for you? Talk a little bit about the facilities and the
I'd love to.
The program.
So it's a really unique situation. Our school is 15 years old. We are the only 4-year institution in the country that was built after the year 2000. So we're 15 years old. Every building on our campus is brand new. Our athletic department, thankfully, was established as soon as the school was, and they started banking some money so that we could, when we were ready, build a facility, do it top-notch, not go into debt doing it, do it all on cash, and move forward with an athletic department. And so when you look at our facility, we've got a great athletics building that splits baseball field and softball field. Our baseball field is, as they say for NAIA coaches, is the Yankee Stadium of NAIA baseball. You can't draw it up any better.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of it. It looks phenomenal.
It's a Division I field, and that's the piece I go back to. I've coached on all those levels, and I'm going, man, there's mid-major Division Is that would crave to have what we have, and here we are, a small NAIA school. So you lay that out. Our weight room overlooks our field. My office overlooks the field. We've got 2 full-time assistant coaches. We've got a full-time strength coach.
Sheets, you're looking kind of buff. You've been hitting the weight room with the guys?
Hey, it's right beneath my office, so I need to be down there more probably. But you start laying all this out, like the full-time strength coach and a full-time training staff, full-time, every piece of the puzzle that, John, I learned that you better ask these questions. GGC checks every one of them, and it's tenfold. And so when you start laying all it out, again, I talked about the success of the program. I've got 2 fantastic full-time assistant coaches. My volunteer coach was my college coach that I've convinced to move back from Canada and come coach with me. I've got a mentor in the dugout with me that knows how to check me.
That's the X factor right there.
Yeah, I think. Well, and I told Steve and Kyle, my other 2 assistants, that what Alan brings is we are yin and yang. He's very reserved. He's quiet. And I'm more detailed, out in the open and go. And he's my yang. And so we always go back and forth. We've coached together before. He knows how I roll. But he's also, if I ever step away from who I am and who I'm thriving in being, he'll put me back in my place, and he does it religiously. And so you start to lay all the things. Recruiting-wise, like I mentioned earlier, this is a situation where we're gonna live on a transfer level, but we're looking for the right high school guy. Not every 18-year-old freshman can come into GGC and compete for a job. We've got to be very strategic about who those guys are, but making sure any high school coach listen to this, any travel coach listen to this, your best player is the player we need. We are not a small school that runs out 82s to 85s. Our starting rotation on the weekend is going to be 90 to 93. We got kids in our bullpen that are 94, 95, and we're a top 5 NAIA program. We got to compete against the best.
Well, a lot of the coaches I talk to, and I'm sure you do as well, Sheets, they bring in about 8, 9 players a year. About 4 are true freshmen that have a chance to compete. They're the 1%ers.
Yep.
The other 4 are usually JUCO or transfers in. So is that kind of the mix of your philosophy as well?
Yeah, I think it'll be a little heavier. Probably, we've only got 1 high school player committed right now, and I think you can compete for a job. We've signed 4 junior college players, and the conversations I'm having here is going to be a lot more of junior college and Division I or Division II transfer.
That's another
kids.
benefit of coming to ABCA, the college coaching network. That's where that happens.
And I'm playing back on those relationships in the network, because that's the name of our game. I'm not here to glad hand and shake hands. I'm here to recruit and get better and grow a program. And so, I think it'll be heavy on that end. But again, when you're looking at an 18-year-old kid, would we love to do that? Yes, but it's got to be a top-tier high school player. And I think right now we're so young, even our success, no kid wakes up every day in the state of Georgia and hits his feet on the floor and says, I can't wait to go to Georgia Gwinnett. He wants to be a Bulldog. He wants to be a Yellow Jacket. So usually we've got to play the long game and develop a relationship and let him go explore those opportunities, realize it's not all it's cracked up to be, or he's not the right fit, or it just wasn't going to work out, and then now we're his best place.
Let's take it a step further, Sheets. If you're talking to a parent right now, you're in their family room or their kitchen, and you got mom looking at you, or dad, or both.
Oh, yeah.
And you're talking to them about sending their incoming freshmen to spend 4 years at Gwinnett College, or you're talking to a player, this thing about transferring over.
Yep.
What's the pitch to the parent?
I love it. Teeing me up, Pipes. You're just putting balls on a tee for me. So our big pitch and our mantra is we teach, we recruit, we develop. And everybody goes, well, what about recruiting? You got to recruit first. No, we're teachers at the forefront. So anytime you run into our staff or you're thinking about our program and who we are and what we're doing, we're teachers. My players don't call me coach. My players call me Sheets, because I'm just going to here to teach. We're here to teach life. We're here to teach baseball. Recruit, obviously, we're going to out-recruit everyone. We're going to outwork them, we think. That's what we're working on, figuring out. But figuring out for us what's the best fit, and that's culturally, that's personality, that's locker room fit. Each class is going to be different. We're going to graduate next year. We got a lot of juniors, and there's a lot of personality. So I know that in next year's class, we've got to get some leadership. We got to get some personality. We got to get some extroverts. If we had 35 guys that talked like me, I'd lose my mind. If I had 35 guys that were as quiet as a church mouse, I'd lose my mind too. So it's being smart about balancing all those things out. We're definitely trying to work to get the best players to become Grizzlies.
This take a step back and talk about your time with the ABCA. Every time I was around you, and we developed a friendship, we talk and text a lot, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
You're a relationship guy. You seem to really enjoy what you did at ABCA. Did it ever feel like work?
No, man, I'm a people guy. I love people. I'm a man of the people. This is like my best friends, and my wife, shoots me glances at times. I don't know if I have a friend that's not connected to baseball. I like soccer dudes. The head men's soccer coach is actually a really close confidant of mine, but I don't have a lot in common with the guy that sells insurance. I have a lot in common with baseball guys, and that's just where I fall and I gravitate towards. So the networking piece, the friendship, the relational piece, again, back what we talked about a minute ago, it came back to serving those guys. Like, if I got into coaching because I revered my Little League coach. I got into coaching because my high school coach was instrumental in changing me into a young man. My college coach was instrumental in changing me. And so I revered coaches. And I think to come to this and work for the association and just walk around 7,000 bumping shoulders with these guys, dude, I revere these friendships mean the world to me. And so it's a lot of names. Luckily, my dad was terrible at names, and I got the other side of it, and I'm great with them. So I love being able to drop names on people and bro hugs and just spending time with them and hearing where they're at, and hopefully bring some value. And certainly they bring value to me.
And I know you have a lot of relationships with Division I coaches, but you spent your time mainly with NAIA, Division II, Division III coaches. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, the job duties as, coaching education and outreach and assistant executive director and starting as a college liaison, those are the levels I served with small schools. But, again, you got to keep in mind, we still cover all levels of baseball, and we're certainly in a lot of different homes, and our board represents a lot of different levels. I got the job because I had spent a lot of my career on the small college level, knowing their ups and downs, knowing what they're up against, and really getting educated on the process to create change. I think as a coach, hey, I don't like this rule, we should change it. Well, there's a process and steps and conversations that have to move you in that direction to force change. And now I started to learn that, but then I also got to lead that charge with our coaching body. And so, love serving those guys. And you got to keep in mind, too, John, like Division I, again, is relative. We were talking about across the entire level. The top half have the same issues. The bottom half have different issues. When you look at small schools, there's some haves and have-nots, but it's more across the board that we're all dealing with the same things. Small colleges right now, for the most part, are in, I wouldn't say crisis mode. There's a lot that are trying to figure out how to meet budget. There's a lot that are closing down. There's a lot that are adding sports to increase enrollment. There's a lot that they're getting thrown on coaches that you've got to hit certain numbers so you're part of the solution to keep our doors open. Small school coaches are mainly battling the same issues. And so I was able to maybe bring that conglomerate together and go, hey, let's get organized. Let's make sure we're on the same page. If there's an action item or there's a moment that we can create change, let's figure out how to do it. But know that I was in the fight with them. I was going to try to help them out, and luckily it's worked out. We did some cool things with NAIA. We helped Lewis and Clark negotiate out of an automatic bid to the World Series, and now hopefully I get to flourish in that they, I get to have a shot to be one of the top 10 teams to make it instead of the top 9. So little things like that have come to fruition that were super positive, that I'm really glad I had the opportunity to do.
Well, at ABC, you launched a podcast, and we both talked about it. We kind of leaned on each other a little bit on technology. I mean, it can blow your mind, all the different tools, and we're kind of both on the same platform now, which is good to share. And, so many options, but widely successful podcast, and that helps you reach even more coaches and players and people in the game. Yep. It's not quite as easy as it appears once someone just hits play and listens. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Once you transitioned away from ABCA, you took a little break, but now you got a mic back in front of you. And
back and better than ever, man.
Just launched a new podcast just a week or two ago, I believe.
Yes, about 3 weeks ago. We ended up starting a podcast about 3.5-4 years ago at ABCA and trying to have a mouthpiece platform that we could message out to coaches but more importantly, be a content place for those guys and have them have, I want to have a great infield conversation, a great outfield conversation, whatever it might be, and provide that. We got 143 episodes in the books. Very proud of that. And then obviously timing of moving to this job. I miss that. I miss that weekly conversation with somebody that made me better. So as much as you make it for a coach. I'm doing it. I want to have that conversation. I want to get better. And came to a situation where a group called Stick and Ball TV, which the ownership I'm very fond of. It's like a baseball YouTube channel. It's a collection point for trusted content. And the guys they were getting on board were all close friends of mine that I trust and admire. And I'm going, you know what, there's something here. And we start having a good conversation about, would you want to get back? And, even my athletic director knows that's something I love the platform and I love the opportunity. I don't mind talking. And then I just approached and went, hey, if there's a chance here to run something, I'd love to do it. They've given me complete freedom to run it the way I want to run it. And that's been an awesome piece to the puzzle. And so as you open it up, John, and I'm super grateful and humbled to say this, we release our show and 2 weeks in, that we carried over the momentum from ABCA, and ours is the number 1 ranked baseball podcast in the country and number 28th overall in sports. And we're 3 episodes in, and I'm still working at getting better. I'm knocking the rust off each week. And for me, I'm looking at the season. That's going to be my therapy session. That's my checkout point, and hopefully connect with somebody that can challenge me and wherever I'm at and go, I want to be better at this, man. Let's have a conversation. And I'm going to take it to my team, but I want all these coaches to use it as well. It's going to be pretty cool.
What I really enjoyed about it is you have to take a step back to prepare for the podcast.
Sure.
And you learn so much about the other coach you're going to interview or the players or the techniques. And it helps me learn throughout the process. Is that what you're finding?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you look at it and you go, if you want something great, it's no different than preparing for a team. If you want something great, then you better plan and prepare. And you better make sure you got your ducks in a row, and just no different than you going through your outline. That's what we do. I want to know where the conversation's going, and it takes time and research to get it to that point. I think it's the same way you look at your team. Like, hey, we want to be great at the end of May, but we've got to win today's practice on Monday, January 6th. We've got to win that one. And then we got to win Tuesday the 7th. And we got to build this in a way that it's a journey. It's not a destination each day. And certainly the podcast the same way. We want to look at this and go, can we, and I'm in my basement, in my studio, looking at it, I want to get better each episode, and I want to continue to be on my own growth path that I found in interviewing, in understanding people, in bringing information and bring it back to application. I'm working at that too, and I'll say I want to navigate that journey for coaches as well. So the Dugout Chatter podcast is out there, powered by Stick and Ball TV. I'm very happy with the product, and obviously we're going to keep working at it.
And we'll put in the show notes the links to that.
Awesome.
And how listeners can get there.
Awesome.
Something I'm proud of, I never saw this happening, is I've been asked to speak at the Podcast Movement Evolutions Conference in Los Angeles in February. And the title of my talk, and if you weren't busy coaching, I'd have you come out there and co-present with me, how do you turn your passion into a podcast?
How about that?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats on that.
So, and we'll keep navigating this. It'd be fun to see 3 years from now where we both are. It's just been a fun journey.
Sure.
To be able to talk baseball and life. There's so many parallels in talking baseball and life lessons. I think that's what we're both after, is try to reach that one listener and try to impact them and maybe tweak their thinking just enough where they go down maybe a little different path.
I said this a lot, and some coaches have heard me say this, but it's the reality. I started the ABCA podcast thinking we were going to change the game of infield play and of catching drills. And then about 20 episodes in, I realized, dude, this is challenging the hearts of people. We have an opportunity to really challenge the culture of coaching. It's about growing up better people, and it's about making them approach their kids a little bit differently and with a different spirit. And so along your same sentiment, I think when you look at it, it's all about personal growth. So it's a baseball podcast wrapped up in a personal growth blanket, and we all want to get better. We all want to improve. We all want to move forward, and being able to navigate that but know that you're on that journey with them. It's all about, for me, John, it's about building a community. They have to know that you're in the trenches with them, and you're working at it, and you're digesting it, and it's challenging you. And certainly that affinity towards groupthink, you want it to be ultra positive, and you want to help navigate people's journey.
Well, Sheets, on our video component of this podcast, I did put up your Twitter handle, but just for the audio portion, let everybody know where they can find you and get more resources, everything going on with Jeremy Sheetinger.
Oh, it'd be great. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm on social media at Coach Sheets 3. I wear the number 3 because it was my dad's middle school basketball number, and I was 32 in college, but I'll always represent my dad and all he gave to me. Obviously, Coach Sheets 3. My email, very simple, Sheets, SHEETS at ggc.edu. You can follow our program at ggc_baseball, and we're trying to grow that account. Pipes, we're going to put out a lot of content this spring that I'm bringing the interview to the field. So during BP, I'm going to interview players. I'm going to interview opposing coaches.
Will that be a video component as well?
Yeah, it'll be all on Twitter.
Because I know you started doing a little video as well with ABCA. That was fun to see, like the camera crew. And we'll talk more about that off air.
Sure.
But video is a great way to share and tell stories.
Well, and I want people to be connected with our program. I want you to feel what it's like to be on our field behind the turtle while we're taking BP. And I'm going to talk through our player and his development, his growth during the season, or adjustments that he's making. I want to have a bridge between a fan, a coach, a player, recruiting. I think it's all going to have a positive kickback and residue to us. But I want to make sure that we're doing what we can to elevate and promote our kids and promote our program. And I think that's a unique way. I don't see any college baseball program doing it. And I'm spoiler alert, I'm going to jump right in the middle of it, and we're going to figure it out at GGC.
Love it. Now, Sheets, I know how important family is to you. Your wife, your two small kids, in making that decision to step back and work for ABCA, and now back to raise your kids on a campus. That'll be a neat environment. But I know how close you were to your dad. You just talked about him. Yeah. We got a headset right here. If he was here right now and chiming in, what would Mr. Sheetinger say about the young man, the father, the coach that his son has become?
Yep, I wasn't ready for that one. I think about that every single day, and I would like to think that him and I, we always go to Mexican for dinner, and he would sit there, and the cool thing about my dad, and this is who I want to be for Coop and CJ, is, just like any parent, he's your biggest fan. Well, it made me so, I worked so hard to make him stay proud of me, and anything I could do to be in front of him. He came to every speech I ever gave, Pipes. He would drive across the country to listen. He's a professional speaker. He wanted to see all the times that he brought me to speeches, and I sat in front rows, and I was backstage while he was out there crushing it. He always wanted to and give me notes. And dude, he was blunt. I'd sit in the car, and he'd go, "Wasn't your best effort today? What was wrong?" And
so the genetics have come through. I didn't realize that about your dad.
1,000%. I mean, I grew up on a stage. For me, it's no issue. We could mic this over the loudspeaker. I'm good. But for him, I had that. I always had, and that's what I brought to my kids in our program. And I'll raise my own children. It's very blunt. You knew where you stood at all times. But, you knew in the spirit in which it was going about. I think if we sat here today, my dad would have 20 jokes he'd drop on you. He was the funniest dude in any room he walked into. But I work every day to make sure I'm honoring him. And obviously for me, to be his son, to me, has been the highest honor. I get to wear his number each day. Honestly, the minute I put on this uniform tomorrow, and I've thought about this, I'll probably cry in my hotel room because it's real now, and I wish he could be here, and I know he'd be sitting in the front row.
Wow, that is powerful. Coach Jeremy Sheetinger, thank you so much for joining me today on Behind the Dish, man.
Thanks,
it was
John.
awesome.
My pleasure, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey everybody, my name is Kyle and I'm the producer for Behind the Dish with John Piper. We put a lot of effort in here to bring you the topics and guests that we think are relevant to the sport of baseball and to your everyday life. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.